welcome to the first Double Change reading in New York. We are a bilingual reading and translation series that has been going strong in Paris for the last decade, and we are continuing on a pace. And it just so happens that a couple members, including myself, are spending this autumn in New York. So along with Jean-Jacques Poussel, who is located in New Haven, we thought we'd pilot a reading today. And I wanted to thank Lucien Zaray of The Invisible Dog for opening the doors to us. This looks like an amazing art space, as you can see, and is not yet a year old. So it's new, and also we don't have yet a sound system, so projecting and listening is going to be part of the event. And I also wanted to thank James Copeland of Ugly Duckling Press for putting us in touch with The Invisible Dog. And just wanted to mention, for your curiosity, who was part of Double Change from the beginning, when it started around the year 2000, with a friendship between Olivier Brossard, who was working at the French Embassy, and Vincent Brocard. So Kristen Prevolet, Caroline Krompacker, Marcella Durand, Lisa Lubash, Andrew Maxwell, and Gerald Chiroma have all been vital parts of Double Change. And I wanted to just explain a little bit about our readings, at least insofar as we have done them in Paris, which is to say we do translations for the reading. It's not once they've been published. So therefore, the translations are a bit rough. They're in process. Often we're having coffee with the poet right before the reading, discussing little minute points of the translation. And one of the incentives for me to do a reading today was to be able to read one of my translations, in this case a co-translation with Cole Swenson, of Stéphane Bouquet's work into English. Because usually in Paris my translations don't matter much because I translate into English. And so the point is when the American and Anglophone poets come to Paris that we translate them into French. And I can sort of help, but I don't feel as vital. So this will be interesting to see how the translation works going the other direction. Stéphane Bouquet is here from France today. Michael Palmer from San Francisco. And Rod Smith from Washington, D.C. And Ha-Young Kim is of Brooklyn, yes? And I'll explain more about her later. She's going to be doing a cello improvisation tout à l'heure, in a little bit. So we're going to start with readings by Rod Smith and Stéphane Bouquet. And then, depending on how it feels, we might have a little pause, get something to eat, or just continue on into the concert with Ha-Young Kim, followed by a reading by Michael Palmer. So the readings are going to be on the short side to keep it all moving. So, by the way, my name is Sarah Riggs, and I grew up in the New York area, and I've been living in Paris for the last decade. I want to introduce first then Rod Smith, who is the author of Deed, Music, or Honesty, Protective Immediacy, and In Memory of My Theories. And a selection of his works, Poème de l'Araignée, was published in France in 2003 by Un Bureau sur l'Atlantique, and he's also currently editing the selected letters of Robert Creeley with Kathleen Harris and Peter Baker for the University of California Press. Smith was a visiting professor in poetry at the Iowa Poetry Writers Workshop, which I heard was amazing, actually, spring 2010, and his translation with Cole Swenson of Emmanuel Ocard's L'Invention du Vers will be published by Canarium Press in 2012. Rod Smith edits the journal Ariel, publishes Edge Books, and manages Bridge Street Books in Washington, D.C. Rod Smith.
Thanks for taking time out of reading those WikiLeaks to come out today. And start start with something from this book, Protective Immediacy, from the title piece. There's no storm before the calm, keeping the stopping still, offering instead of living and planted. Plato's ideas dispute sharpness, prefer Sappho, prefer perfect good any vast, surely day. But Dr. Williams, they die miserably anyway, and the light goes on the kneeling Ave Maria, no sun shining, come looking wood, hold off so that we could meet. In my bag close, I felt it was content, even though I still didn't. History, you can read it, you can snow. Bernadette cupped it in her hands, a hole filled with cured place because, and in response, I read the manuscript thinking about the fog glass shook and tell everything afraid beside the fruit form of a crosstown bus to happen to police. We have a strange stolen love at the moment. To you with a poem, some said nothing was trembling, is like a popsicle. You can read drinking itself to see its script with no sharp edges, and the last part always falls off on the damp pavement behind us, burning the creative process on your clothes. And one with trembling hands clasps this cold head, and from him with her moonlight wings and cries, our love, our hope, our sorrow is not dead. Most other instruments are a surcharge, don't you know, shed beneath abandoned teeth, flats and naturals. The lurid shine interprets the signatures, keys, sharps, and half-lit lonely weirdos of nature. I bought some grapes, but going ahead, some grapes, grapes, clickety-lum, grape to donut, the healthy grapes, the met needs of this good grape, elate, graping. Form of proffer. This is a poultice. So there I was, slathered with fair use in the house of being. Brother, can you spare an EU citizenship? Now that the entire country's institutionalized and our televisions control our bodily functions, I'd like to say a few words about wanderlust and manifest destiny. Yum, yum. God, including pecan rolls, expresses love and admiration to me as doubt. These are from a series called Snips, after Steve Lacy. I bought some grapes but I dropped and they smushed. They were fucking archetypal robots of capital, like concepts. Dad was the man who was always pointing into the sky at a buzzard, into a bush at a buzzard. He had a vision. He had a talent for mathematics. He had a tub ride. Icht Umbelheim heid the deep-souled and regular and soft time must be stolen, arranged for a raven, its rain on the need and room. I wanted to read just a few of these Creeley letters. This is to his mother, May 15, 1945, from Burma. Dear Mother, I've sent you a package containing the artificial eye I got in Calcutta. It was cracked a few days ago, quite mysteriously. Rather amazing, since I had it in a tin packed in cotton. Anyhow, see if you can get me another of similar measurements. You might have them use one of my old eyes for determining the placement of the pupil. Please try to obtain one and send it to me quickly as possible, for the mails are very, very slow, and it would take almost 4 months were you to send it immediately. Do what you can, anyhow. All my best, Bob. This is excerpt from anything you read from a letter to Olson is an excerpt, given the length of the letters. This is when they were in Fontruz, south of France. One pleasure, anyhow. Yesterday, walking along the Cours Mirabeau with Dave and the Hellmans, I was gawking as usual and saw a man sitting with his family, i.e. wife and 2 kids, table in front of one of the cafes. No one much around. They were only ones at the tables. I looked at him and was so hit by his eyes. I kept looking and must have stared at him all the way. And he also, looking right back at me. I was very fine, i.e. sudden quickness of it, man so placed there, and crazy intensity of his eyes beyond any embarrassment or any sense of staring me down, and myself naive enough then to look too without any nervousness, I guess because he allowed it. Getting past feel that I knew him came stronger as he was by us, etc., and then woke to who he was, i.e. Picasso. Beautiful, beautiful thing, absolutely. Going back as we had to later, of course we looked, like they say, but then it was no pleasure. He had turned, and it was looking at any great man and dull to that extent. Otherwise, sheer sort of memory of his face. I had it straight at me for about a minute. It must have been that long. He sat with utter damn solidity, and at that point I knew him only as a man sitting there. His eyes are lovely damn things. You would never forget them. Even in photographs, there is that quality, but faced, they are incredible. And his whole head is an intensity and a fine kind of humor, which I mean to balance, and which I mean to balance and presence, just there. Not big, Spanish in his body or Catalan, old suit, or usual French one, poorly cut, always to my sense, wife younger and pretty, and him so crazily separate, and yet them all in it too. Kids about Dave's age, sort of diminutive, looking French, which he can't much like. Well, fuck it. It was pleasure. I wish you'd been there with me too. It's worth as much to me as boat fare, etc., to have seen him precisely like that. What the hell should I ever say to him? That was the one damn way. It was damn well worth all the Christly hell of the past year. It was very great. This is a postcard to Clark Coolidge, October 26, 1963, just after the Berkeley Poetry Conference. Is there some water?
Vancouver.
I'm sorry, Vancouver. Thank you. Clark had gone there with George Palmer, now Michael Palmer. And dear Clark, don't worry so much, viz. Onward. The fact you write is all the reason that is, sanity, cause, or otherwise. I thought you people were going to start something. Not to bug you, but do keep moving, otherwise things begin to clog and one is left stuck, etc. Anyhow, you make it, viz. Poems. So that's a blessing? How about counting them? Wow. But really, let's do laugh. Take care of yourselves and give my best to friends there. All best to you both, Bob. I think basically he's giving them a push to start jogulars, which they were talking about doing. Poem. So a guy walks into a bar with a dog, Dennis Hopper, Harvey Keitel, and Bill Clinton. He claims the dog can talk. Poem. I would run home for lunch every day to eat with Soupy Sales. It was like having a lunch date every day. I never met Soupy, but I want to thank him. Hunga Dunga. Or in Gates. The trusted inchoate, bleeding canvas bag, the planed aspirin taker talks to them, tells the family the soldier they raised should not be opened. Osama been drinking. Me's widow birdie bong stowy. I bought it my widow Powaki birdie bong for him's birthday, but it gived him a itty widow cut on him's bitty widow beak whip. Couldn't do a barrel roll. I don't know why, 'cause, I mean, it was him's whip, not him's widow wingies. So I said to him, widow birdie wordy, which was not him's namey wamey. The dog surrounds us, nummy wummy googly woo. Who's got a little bitty potty mouth? Why, you. I hereby declare bankruptcy on my emotional debts. I dreamt that I was Bridget Bardot and that I kissed me. This is one section of the translation of Bocard that Sarah mentioned in the introduction, L'Invention du Verre, that I did with Cole Swinson. The name is that of the architect. A brick wall describes itself. Constructions like that made to hold for as long as they need to hold the sense of the sea or series. The bodies don't add up, none too much. Mucharabia is in itself the fragmentary. What white has to do with chance. The laugh is short if it starts. Nothing. A boat passes through the mouth. Take it and sign like the subject was a sparkling comb. Sometimes silver teapots just fall into the sea. Pyrrhus means the point where several cross. A tile falls, a man walks, his name instantly the mark of chance. Thus marine, neither color nor structure. A simple adjective where teapots and silences coincide. In the water, the bright blue game hardly changes a thing. It's a sound that starts where the waves break. Not much left of the Aeolian dialect. I'll say, you are the case, looking for postcards. Twilight can also apply to morning, a volume of light revealed by circumstances that don't explain it. Doors as opposed to their closing. The glass breaks and shines. How many are ready to step aside? If the left wants to redistribute the wealth, then they need to get really rich. I'm finished with a piece called Hegel's Mother. I'm working on a poem with a kind of dialectical relation to it called Marx's Mommy. But this is Hegel's Mother. To undo the foolishness of cut life and its rugged display devices, the rollicking mutual pettiness and kind inaugurated spinning films of merit, of lies, of guys inside flatware combing themselves with eyes. There's a hard nose on the face of life and a willingness to blow it. There's an example of what it means, and another, and another. The sidelong laced abracadabra boxes our miffed trilling. Jump to then and again, the fame of matter is fulfilled. If Johann Sebastian Bach had been a forest ranger, he would have burned everything. The indirect lessons left in the tons, times, acidic warmth stops movement and crux. The call comes, people adjust and burn. We see Bach beside the fire in a confessional mode, making up maddening truths about his former selves and the selves of those he loves. We question everything about this scenario except the phrase, those he loves. Beside the fire, in his fugal state, in his ranger uniform, drinking cheap gin and sketching flowers. In the confessional, and I am not Catholic any more than you are, the logic of the meaningless hybrid beautifying stains the backs of the voltaic parishioners set apace by the partitions and barracks. Outside of this, which there isn't one, large and awful Hollywood makeovers seep into the trailer's horse from too much pepper spray. It's a kind of pseudo-Norse neologistic need which drives them up into the coarse air lax beside the peril, a hurtled greed for belief, the salt talks and the rags scream. There's a binge of some sort over there, but can't quite make it out. There's an expensive rope you can use to climb the walls. Let us pause a moment to consider the relation of theory to poetry. Poets who do not have an interest in theory tend to be boring because their works are uninformed. Poets who have too much interest in theory tend to be boring because their works are not alive. This is what is known as a dichotomy. When Johann Sebastian Bach was a baby forest ranger, his baby brother got beat up by a baby neighbor. Bach watched. Big Mama Bach was kind and gentle and, like Hegel's mother, took an interest in getting up in the morning. Bach's poem, Glenn Gould, I hate you and all your CDs too. An epistolary. Dear Glenn, how are you? Just checking in. Love, Mr. Bach. Enclosed 36 toothpicks and a book of matches. Johann Sebastian Bach's broken heart had to be rebroken so it would properly heal. For some reason, he went to the dentist to have this done. It was an August day, and it seemed a lot like May. In this world, Bach would have us burn. There's something about the tone of these poems that makes me want to bring up Soupy Sales. Soupy's sensibility is superior. It is open and gentle, yet not without edge. Too often these works reflect an internal impatience, a pushed elision which is not in harmony with their own fate and the fate of others like them. Bach is tired of all this nitpicking bullshit about phone logs and the freedom of the unoppressed offspring of carnation-wearing widget brains. There is for us a better life to be created. Saved face the classical wonderment and its guts trumped by the unfed wieldy, a rack and joy medley willing the common taupe. Dry banked bread of our common joy nest digging, torn corners purse the civilized braille, a world which common them exhales pert and joyous the talkative flames amidst the goyim. A trance does not exempt the weighted, intelligent sensuality, a broke wave bearing the meddling exuberance, the flailing gasps and cookies, all of them the workhorse parodies implanted in the smashing lewd environments. The late style disembarks, covering the lariats, deranging the locale, a branching, clueless, snuffy conniver, awake in the cautious, febrile loam, to undo the Actually, I'll finish with a postcard to Allen Ginsberg that I have memorized from 1978. Creeley wrote to Allen Ginsberg from Hawaii. Dear Allen, having a good time. Wish you were here. Love.